Hello, my fellow Ohioans. This is our daily coronavirus update for March 29th, 2020. So, in case you guys haven't heard the news, we have some interesting news that broke today regarding the state of Ohio and the way that Ohio is trying its efforts to contribute towards helping facilitate some outside the box thinking when it comes to this whole coronavirus situation. But first, before we get to that, I want to cover the numbers and then we'll talk about the bigger story real quick. So first things first. So we did have an increase today in the number of cases. So yesterday we were at 1406. Today we are at 1653, which resulted in an increase of 247. Now, the interesting thing here is that the number of cases are going up, but if we notice, over these past 3 days, our the increase has actually been about the same, if not less. Today as was less. Now, from everything that I heard today, I did watch their press conference that Mike DeWine just did at two o'clock today, and one of the reporters from the news stations had asked about the lack of testing. And so he said that they didn't have an update on that and that we'd have to wait till Monday for the doctor, um, Amy Actor is her name, or Acton, to be there to answer that question. So apparently, again, these numbers, as much as we'd like to think that, hey, this is we've reached that apex, essentially, we're on the downhill trend, and in theory, we should start seeing fewer cases reported daily, or maybe the same number reported daily. It doesn't sound like we're there just yet because they still seem to think that we're gonna see a point where we're getting 5 to 6 thousand cases daily. So clearly they have some evidence to support that we don't necessarily know, but it sounds like that really has to do with just the fact that we can't test enough people to know how many people actually are infected. So, I guess hang on. We're still, this bumpy ride is still taking place. I would hope that that's not true, but again, I mean, obviously they've got some information to know that that's what's going to happen. So, or maybe something close to that is what's going to happen. So the doctor even said so in her update yesterday. Um, so she still thinks that we still haven't seen the worst of it. It's just interesting that the numbers aren't reflective of that currently. And again, like I said, I think it's because of the fact that they're saying that we still have not tested that much just yet. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next chart that I've been showing every day. And so I'll explain what happened. I'm going to try to explain what happened because I really don't know what happened with these numbers yesterday. Yesterday's update, I mentioned that they reported 269 new cases and there were only 269 tests done. But then today, the governor read the number of cases and the number of cases, or the number of tests increased by 3,900 compared to yesterday. So I think between yesterday and today, they screwed up the numbers. Like really, half of this 3,900 from today should have applied to yesterday approximately. So we're still doing about 2,000 some tests per day. It looks like, but even if you split that in half, it's still less than the number of tests we did on that were reported on Friday. So that's not necessarily good because we should see the number. This number, we want to see the daily test number go up. That's the number we want to see go up. We certainly want to see the negative tests go up as well, I guess, and the total tests go up as well. But again, he said the number he gave today was 24,376, while yesterday was 20,418, which was a slight increase from the prior day. So it just, again, the numbers yesterday made no sense. But today's update explains kind of why. I think they just screwed up the numbers yesterday or whatever update they gave yesterday. So again, this number came from hearing the governor. This is the number he read out loud at today's press conference. So again, we're still doing about 2,000 some tests per day. It's kind of hard to make heads or tails of that as it relates to the other graph I was showing, because if we're still doing the same number of tests and the numbers going down, then either the right people aren't getting tested or something, So again, we'll have to just wait it out a little bit longer and see where these numbers go. And yeah, we'll just go from there. But so some of the news, one of the things I wanted to cover today, because this came up during the press conference and was the reason why I watched the press conference in particular, was the governor apparently had some communication with the FDA recently, because Ohio, there's a nonprofit organization in Ohio known as Battelle. Battelle is headquartered in Columbus, and they managed to go through a process of identifying a way that we can clean or sterilize up to 80,000 of the N95 masks per day, which would help not only just cities in Ohio, but would help cities across the nation, including New York. So basically their idea, what the short of it was that the guy explaining the scientific side of it basically said, look, a mask can be worn up to 20 times with the sterilization process. So you wear it the first time, you sterilize it, they make a note of it, the fact that it's been sterilized once, and then they sterilize it, they send it back out in the field again, it can be worn again. So they can do that up to 19 more times after the time the mask has been worn the first time, which is great, because then the cost involved in buying all the masks, you keep that down. Now, what's the cost of sterilization? I have no idea. They didn't get into that information. Is it cheaper than buying new masks? I'm assuming so. Otherwise, they wouldn't be hard pressed on making this a thing. But basically, the story is that they asked the FDA to approve the sterilization process on Friday. The FDA came back on Saturday and said, yes, you can go ahead and do that for 10,000 masks per day. And so the governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, said, no, we said 80,000. And since he wasn't getting what he wanted, he basically put in a call to the president directly and said, look, we want FDA approval for 80,000 of these things per day. We don't want 10,000. We need more. And again, the use goes beyond just Ohio. It extends to states all over the nation, which would be huge. Because that way you're not just a one and done. You're just not throwing these things away after one use. You're sterilizing them and getting them back out. And then, you're also keeping people safe at the same time because of that sterilization process. If you're not aware of what an N95 mask is, this is what an N95 mask essentially looks like. So you've probably seen these before in like Home Depot or any hardware store, construction sites, stuff like that. But basically they're meant to stay close to your face and be form-fitting, so that way you don't get debris and particles coming into, or you're not breathing that stuff in. So essentially those are the things that Battelle has discovered a way to sanitize. They've actually gone through testing processes already, and they're basically at a point where they said, look, once we get the approval we need, we're ready to go. So if you're an Ohioan, like, hey, this is a great day to be an Ohioan. Not, obviously you don't wish for situations like this or circumstances like this to come around, but the fact that Ohio could be responsible for one of the best ways to recycle these masks and allow us to not have to keep spending money on buying them. One question you may be asking is, how long is the sterilization process? The guy that gave the information at the press conference said 24 hours. He said, so he's like, I don't know about the logistics, about the timing it takes to get it from the sterilization process, factory, if you will, to where it needs to go. So there's some logistics there, but the turnaround time from when they get it to when it can be shipped back to wherever it needs to go is 24 hours. So it's not like this is something that in theory is days or weeks or anything like that. It's literally hours. So again, if you're an Ohioan, let's be proud of the fact that, we had some industry, some company in Ohio that was able to find this, start doing some testing with it, and prove that in theory that it works, I guess. And, again, our governor, put on the big boy pants today and called up the president and was like, I need you to help me act on this. And the president in turn has done so. I mean, sadly, he's even tweeted out about it, even though like the proper action is we need him to get a hold of the FDA. Now, granted, so Mike DeWine did say before he gave his presser at 2 o'clock that the FDA commissioner gave him a call. I believe he said gave him a call and said, yes, we will get this handled today. So he is under the impression that we will be approved for cleaning the 80,000 masks or sterilizing the 80,000 masks per day. So again, if you're Ohioan, look at this. Look at it this way. Ohio may have just saved the nation a shit ton of money. um, Sorry for language, but Ohio may have just saved the nation a boatload of money for masks. And hey, it came out of Ohio, so that's great. That's something to be very proud of. So that was my big update for today, guys. We're we'll have to see again how the numbers work out over the course of the next several days or week to see if we continue the trend that we're seeing here. I mean, again, they're saying that these numbers, these cases per day should spike, and that we have not hit that spike yet. These numbers right now aren't showing that, so we'll just have to wait and see. And again, I said yesterday maybe it was because of the weekend. I don't know. I think it's like I said, there's just not enough testing available fast enough for people to get tested, and so now we're kind of up against we're kind of at the max capacity that we can be at until we have the ability to test more. So we'll see how that shakes out in the next week. I look forward to giving you guys updates every day as we go through this, and if there's any more information beyond just the numbers I can give you, I will give you whatever information I can find. I'm assuming you're probably finding this information elsewhere, but this is just a way that I can consolidate that information for people in a short period of time to avoid you having to go searching the internet, watching press conferences, and doing other monotonous stuff like that. So I appreciate it if you've been here every day watching or listening to my updates. I hope you've enjoyed them. If there's any feedback you'd like to provide into my updates, be sure to leave me a comment. If you like the updates, be sure to leave a like on the video, guys. Be sure to share the video, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere that any social media platform that you're on that you would be willing to share the video on. I would appreciate that very much. And until tomorrow's update, guys, bye-bye.